Friends, greetings, salutations. Let's dig right into SoFi and what we can expect this week. So obviously, a huge issue that we are seeing once again develop in SoFi like any other day in SoFi. Had the rate cuts, great. We're still talking about rate cuts. Jerome Powell is continue to talk about rate cuts, but it's going to take a little bit of time for these rate cuts to really start to push into the market. And we said this last month, like, hey, a lot of us think the market has already priced in these rate cuts when Jerome Powell was talking about rate cuts last month, and I kind of think that's what we're seeing right now. So the issue is supply and demand with SoFi, and here's what I mean by that. There is a lot of supply. There's a lot of shares out there of SoFi, a lot of outstanding shares. The problem is the demand is not too high right now because there's still this aroma in the air right now with the stock market where people are going, okay, the S&P 500 is really high right now. Like, it's so high, it's the highest it's been, and it's very scary because a lot of people think it's going to crash. And we've already had these back in August. We had a pretty significant crash, and then here in September 6th, we saw another slight significant crash. Now, the question is, are we going to see another crash here very soon? And personally, I don't know. I think there will be some sort of sell-off. I think it's really just going to be a shakeout. I think there's going to be another shakeout in the market before we get to this election. And that's one thing we find ourselves in this very weird and particular time in the market where just, 40 days, we're going to have an election here with a whole new candidate. It's going to be whole new policies. Well, to an extent, we're looking at a situation right here where the market's going like, hey, we don't know which way to drive right now, this train that is the stock market. And with that too, we do know we have these rate cuts, which is really good news and really the only good news we have. Inflation's coming down a little bit. Job report, terrible. And it's just a mixture of good news and bad news. And where are we going to land with this market? So, like I said, supply and demand with SoFi right now. There's still a lot of people out there. I talked about this last week where I was like, I just think a lot of people are selling out of SoFi. They've been here so long with SoFi, and now that SoFi is hitting these pretty big numbers, people are coming close to their bag holdings or just like, hey, I'm selling out, I'm getting out of here. Or people that are actually, hitting a little bit of profit and they're like, hey, I'm taking this money and I'm getting out of town. It's all understandable. And I know people are doing that because I have friends that are doing that. I read the comments what people are doing. So, you can't blame people here, especially when a lot of us think, hey, there's going to be another shakeout of the market. Now, funny enough, I literally, my last video, you can go back. I think I said this the last two videos about SoFi. I said, hey, SoFi, I believe, is doing somewhat of a Palantir structure here. And then, my God, today, the 23rd, Jim Cramer comes out and says the exact same thing. I don't know if Jimmy's watching me, but if he is, you just stole my words. So here we go. Jim Cramer came out and said, hey, I believe SoFi is a lot like Palantir in the way that it's going to take place here in the next 2 years. Because this is literally what I said yesterday. I said, SoFi reminds me a lot of the structure of how Palantir worked, where we knew we had this very unique and particular company, this stock, which was Palantir. And it was playing around this $6 to $8 range forever. I mean, just ever. And people were going like, this is such an undervalued company. Why is this stock not moving? And then finally, when we saw AI start to pick up, Palantir, like, people started to notice like, hey, what's this, AI stock here? And then Palantir started to get these bigger deals here. It started to get these government contracts that were huge, and since then it keeps just getting bigger deals. And now it's the complete opposite, where people are going, Palantir is $40, but it's still undervalued, and it's almost hard to find a bad article about Palantir right now, which was not the conversation just 2 years ago with Palantir. So it's very interesting to see this take place now. Obviously, with that, Jim, you can go look at the article. I'm not going to read the article word by word here. But, essentially what Jim is saying is that, he thinks SoFi, and what I literally just said, he thinks SoFi is going to happen a lot like what Palantir did. It's just one day we're going to be at that $7 mark. Then we're going to go to $10. We're going to go to $15. We're going to go to $20, $30, $40. That's kind of what he is saying right now, that it's the structure. He believes that when people catch on to what's going on over here at SoFi, it's going to be too late. So this is why I said yesterday, hey, if you can afford just to buy SoFi, put as much capital into it as you can and just let it sit there and accumulate. In the long run, a year from now, you're going to go back to yourself and thank yourself. Go ahead and make yourself a thank you video, because it's going to do really well for you. And it's essentially guaranteed. As we start to see these rate cuts, take place, especially when they start to compound on top of SoFi's quarterlies, that's when we're going to see a lot of big things start to take place here with SoFi. But with SoFi just reacting to this first word of mouth, like Jerome Powell saying, hey, we're going to do rate cuts, and SoFi jumped up to this $8.50 mark. Every time we see a legitimate rate cut take place, like the Feds go, hey, we're doing a rate cut next week, boom, SoFi is going to move up. And with that too, we could see these dollar inflows start to come in here, where by the time we see the next rate cut, SoFi might move to a $9 mark if it's not already there. Now, here's the particular interesting situation that's about to occur with SoFi. We're seeing sell-off right now in SoFi, but with that too, guess what we have around the corner? On November 4th, SoFi will be announcing their next quarterly, which we expect that quarterly to be really good. So with that what is happening that week too? The election. And we already know that, SoFi is reacting, and people like to argue with me about this, and I get why. I am in no way trying to be biased right now with what I'm about to say, but SoFi CEO has come out and said, hey, a Republican win would be better for SoFi with where they're going with policies. And that's all I'll say about that subject. It's out there. You can watch it. But with that, we could see SoFi jump into double digits here in November. That is a very real situation that could happen. If there was a time to do it for SoFi, that would probably be the time. If not, January is probably going to be when the whole stock market is on steroids, because as history tells us and repeats itself here, every time we have a new president-elect in January, every 4 years, the stock market will run heavy. It will run heavy for a while, because it's new policy, new leadership, it's going whichever direction, and with that we're going to start to see a different economy going into 2025. Hopefully it's not stagnant. But now we're talking about we're doing rate cuts regardless. So at least we have these rate cuts as get out of jail free cards here with a lot of these stocks like SoFi this year. But SoFi is really reacting to these rate cuts. It really likes these rate cuts right now. So friends, what I'm trying to say is, with this supply and demand kind of thing I'm talking about here, supply and demand will get expensive here with SoFi. There's a lot of shares right now, but as these shares start to get ate up, SoFi will get very expensive. Do not expect SoFi to continue just have a straight beeline straight up to a $10 mark here. SoFi is going to be this up and down situation. Tomorrow we could be back at $8.15, or we could travel back down to $7.80. Personally, I hope it gets destroyed. I want to see SoFi go back down to like $6 because I want to buy more, but that's me and being selfish. But I don't know that we'll see these 6 again. If we see 6 again, it's going to be because the market had a huge dump and there was a pullback, a major pullback in the overall market. So I just don't know that we're going to see something that intense take place here. Hopefully not, because if so, we're all in trouble. But hopefully we all had capital sitting aside and able to put into these stocks. So friends, I'm gonna make this a short, sweet video to the point. I wish all of you best of luck. I know a lot of you have been saying you're just buying up SoFi right now. You don't even care what the price is. Anything under 8, anything under 9, you're just buying as much as you can. Listen, in the long run, I think you're going to thank yourself for that. Now that, the SoFi was a hard sell this year. It was a hard sell for people to get their mind around, because we didn't know when these rate cuts were coming in. This time last year, we were talking about, Jerome Powell was talking about rate cuts, but he was like, not yet. So then we thought back in April, maybe rate cuts again. Still didn't happen. Now that we have these rate cuts guaranteed, they're happening here periodically throughout, these few months going into next year. This is, like I said, it's like a, Uno card. It's a wild ace. We need this. This is what SoFi needs. It's reacting to it. It's going to continue to react to it, and it's pretty much a guarantee. Just reaction to SoFi running up, not to mention these quarterlies coming out, and depending on who wins this, either way who wins the election, SoFi should do well and will do well. But it's obvious that there is a candidate that SoFi likes a little more right now. Friends, take care of yourself, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.